Hello, hello. I'm Holly, and welcome back to the Guilt Free Podcast, a place where you can come and get your life together guilt free. So, last week I actually shared a picture of my vision board that I had been putting together. And according to the poll, everybody wanted to know my process about how I put this together. So, if you are feeling like you might have missed the boat because we're in March, everyone was doing this in January and it's been a few months, so I get it. But you're not too late. It's never, ever, ever too late to start working on your goals. So listen in because today's episode is going to be packed full of everything I do to make my vision board go from artwork to a crystal ball looking into my future. So it's very exciting. I want to make this as powerful and as important as absolutely possible because I know firsthand I had made more vision boards than enough. And before I started following this method, they were basically just glorified collages, like, little scrapbooks. No good. So I made enough wrong ones to know when to make a right one. And I've figured out what worked. And this year, especially, I am doubling down and I'm getting super serious, especially with loads of really exciting things that's coming up in my business. So that's why I really wanted to make this vision board and show you kind of the process of it. So enough rambling. Let's jump into it. The very first thing that I did before I even got near the scissors and glue was I sat down and I got super bloody clear on my goals. In fact, I broke them down into a couple categories. So bear with me. I wrote them down because I can't remember them off the top of my head. I split them into mental, physical, spiritual, occupational, can't say this, occupational, financial, recreational, social, and environmental. And I gave them these headings to kind of give me a bit of a guide. So it's not like you have to have a ton of goals in each area. You might just have one or two. That's totally fine. You might not even have anything for all of them, right? You could just be maybe a couple that you want to work on. That's totally, totally fine. It's just important to make sure that you're getting really clear on these goals. So, for example, I feel like mental and physical is pretty self-explanatory. That is focusing on, what sort of headspace do I want to have for this year? What is my mindset going to be? Physical is things like taking care of myself physically. Spiritual is this, it can vary from, from person to person. You might have religious goals, you might have spiritual goals. It's kind of, each to their own. But I like to kind of use spiritual as like an umbrella to talk about like my connection, like my sort of like soul connection or my connection to like the universe or whatever sort of works for you. So, it's going to be a very personal thing. Next, I have occupational. So obviously this is going to be things relating to like my career, my business, that sort of side of things. Then I've got financial goals. That is going to be like, like savings goals. You want to save a certain amount, or maybe you want to get out of debt, or whatever it is. It's going to be your money goals. It could even be things like your money mindset. Maybe you want to change how you view and use money. It could also be about education around money and finance. So maybe you want to learn about stocks and shares. Maybe you want to get a little bit more savvy, with money. That can also fall under this umbrella. It doesn't have to be like a figure exactly. Then I've got recreational goals. So this is how I spend my time outside of things like my business, and outside of myself too. It's just about keeping things balanced. So maybe there's some trips I'd like to take or some classes I'd like to sign up for. That's going to fall under recreational. Then I've got social, and social is going to be about the kind of connections that I want to have in this year, the types of people I'd like to meet, the type of groups I'd like to join, that sort of thing, like just sort of anything social falling into that category. For me, I have been sort of transitioning out of a very corporate world and into a very entrepreneurial world. And that has kind of led to my relationships changing, friendships and things changing. It's also led to me learning a different balance with my social life as well. So those sort of things are kind of falling under my goals for my social life for 2024. And then lastly, I've got environmental. Now, this isn't, we're not going to Greta Thunberg it over here. You can if you want, but this is relating to my environment, my space. This can be things like, how I want my home to look, how I want like my garden to look, little things like that, things that I would like to work on or improve or grow throughout 2024. It could be that maybe you want to move to a new place, maybe you want to like travel to a new country and live there for a while. It's just about looking at your environment and how you want to change that or how you want to maintain that if that's something you want to do as well. So with writing these goals, it's really important that you write them in past tense as if you have already achieved them, and also tie a time frame to them as well. So, for example, I like to, my goals look like in 2024, now my goals have left me. That's embarrassing. So it will say like, in 2024, I have learned how to knit. I don't know. That was a terrible goal. I already know how to knit. But I have changed it. I've added a time frame and I've changed it to the past tense so that all of this is going to feed into what I'm going to explain why in a moment, but it's all going to feed into sort of that rewiring of your subconscious and explaining to it that you've already achieved this thing, right? So I'll explain more of that in a moment. It all ties nicely together. Bear with me. When you are writing these goals, I really want you to think about how it feels to have achieved them, how that makes you feel. What feelings does it bring up to have this thing or to make this thing a reality? If, for example, your your goal for this year is to travel to Santorini, what does it feel like to be there? How do you feel? And I want you to really focus on the feelings when you're writing these goals. If it's not stirring up enough of a feeling, try and go into more detail. Drill down on that goal and, write it in such a way that when you read that, you get tingles thinking about it. Like you just like, oh God, yes. I can't wait for this to happen, or I'm so excited that this has happened, right? So it's all about that rewiring happening in your mind. Then I want you to think about each goal and make a to-do list of things that is going to make that goal a reality for you. Like what's going to help you move along and actually succeed this goal. Because every year you see people, they make these New Year's resolutions and they say, oh yeah, this year I'm going to start running, or I'm going to quit drinking, or I'm going to quit smoking, or whatever it is. But they don't make a plan to actually succeed with that goal. And what happens is it just falls by the wayside, and December 31st rolls around and you just basically move that resolution from one year to the next. It doesn't really get anywhere. So I want you to really drill down and think about that goal and all the to-dos that go into that. So for example, if you want to make, running a 5K your goal for 2024, think about everything that goes into that, right down to buying a pair of running shoes or charging your headphones before your run. Whatever it is, drill down on it and get super clear of every tiny detail. Then you're going to split those tasks up into two categories. You're going to have reoccurring tasks and scheduled tasks. So these are going to be like one-off tasks. So for your reoccurring tasks, you're going to look at ways that you can build this into your everyday routine, right? So how you can habit stack them essentially, right? So if for example, running, you're wanting to train for a 5K, maybe the trigger for doing that is when you wake up in the morning, you put on your running clothes, you have a banana and lace up your shoes. And that's like telling your brain that you're about to go now on a run, right? So you're going to want to build those reoccurring tasks into your everyday life as much as possible. Schedule them in a calendar, set that reminder, and actually start making the effort to ticking those to-dos off. If they feel too hard, if they feel like it's too big of a thing each day or each week or how often it recurs, break it down smaller. Break it down smaller until it becomes so easy and so effortlessly you just like breeze into it. You know, if your mindset is something you want to work on, then you know a to-do might be affirmations. Stick those affirmations on your bathroom mirror and read them to yourself while you're brushing your teeth. Done. Okay, make it nice and easy for yourself. That's the best way to succeed. Now, for the one-off goals, or the one-off tasks, you're going to want to schedule these with a deadline, right? So think about, at what point do you want to have achieved that thing? When do you want to have that ticked off? So for example, buying running shoes is a one-off thing, right? But you might add that onto your Saturday to-do list, right? You're going to go into town anyway, so why not stop off and get a pair of running shoes? Done. So add those things into your calendar and make the effort to really use things like your calendar, your reminders, things like that, so that you can have those prompts pinging at you. We're going to use that, what is it, whenever your phone, it's like those dopamine hits of getting a notification. So we're going to use that dopamine hit of getting a notification to tell you to do this thing, to make you do that thing. So recommend that one. What was I going to say now? I've lost my train of thought. Oh, yes, the to-do list. So you will have, what you would kind of want to have at the end of this is a list of all your goals. And then below that, another list where you have all of the to-dos, all of the tasks that you need to do to achieve that goal. Keep this list, keep this list, document, whatever you want to call it, keep this somewhere where you can access it easily and frequently, right? So think of it like maybe on your notes app, maybe you write it down and you keep it beside your computer, whatever it is, you know, have it to hand so that you can easily go in and reference those things. And maybe it's a case that when you're sitting down and you're thinking about your week and you're planning out your time, you look at this list and you think, well, what can I do this week to move me closer to that goal? You know, and you're going to actively look and consciously look for opportunities to tick something off of that list to bring you closer to achieving that goal. So that's kind of where the fun part comes in with the actual vision board, because it is not enough to just go on Pinterest, pick a bunch of pretty photos and stick them down. Absolutely not. Same goes for quote posts, right? Quote pictures, quote images, whatever you want to call them. Quotes don't work. You know, you can't visualize a quote, right? The whole point of the vision board is that it is going to be images that you can visualize yourself being in, right? Or being a part of. You can't do that with a quote, right? So sack the quotes, cut them from your list because they are not going to help. They're not. You know, you might think, oh, but it's inspirational. Oh, but it's motivational. No, the inspiration and the motivation comes from your goal, right? You don't need some girl boss, you know, quote on your vision board to help you feel motivated. The motivation is actually doing this thing, making this vision the reality. That should be the motivator. So I love to browse through Pinterest and look for photos of things that represent my goal, right? Or represent that feeling. They create that feeling that I had when I was writing them down, right? So it's going to stir up that emotional, physical feeling within when I think about this goal. So when I look at that picture, like I'm all zhuzhed up for it. I don't know how else to describe it, but it's going to kind of make me feel like that, you know? And you want to choose these images that's going to represent kind of the reality around that goal, right? So I recommend looking for like POV photographs. So things like, so that's like point of view. And this is going to be like, as if it's coming, as if you're looking at this thing through your eyes, right? Sounds really silly, but that's kind of what you want to go for here. For example, if you're thinking about your dream car, you're not going to, don't put a picture of just the car on your vision board. You want to put a picture of like a POV of you driving that car. So you're looking at the steering wheel, you're looking at the dashboard, you're looking out through the windscreen. That is the kind of image you want, because when it comes to your goal, you're not going to just like look at the car. You're gonna be actually driving the car. You're gonna be owning that car. You're gonna be in it. Same for like, if you're looking for like an apartment, your dream apartment, maybe you look for a picture where it's like holding up the keys in front of the camera, so it's like you're looking at the keys inside your apartment. That's the kind of images you want to look for. You want to also make sure that the person, if there's a person in the photographs, say maybe it's like a selfie or something, you want to make sure that their face is somewhat obscured and that it looks kind of like you, like it could have been you taking that selfie. Or if you are savvy enough, Photoshop your face onto them. It doesn't even have to be Photoshop. It could just be that you take a photo and you physically cut your face out and stick it on. Whatever kind of works for you, because all you're doing here is you're just working on making it as easy as possible for your brain to see this photo and understand that this is the reality, right? It's stirring up those feelings. It looks like you're looking at it. It looks like you've taken that picture. It looks like it's you in that photo. It's making that a reality for your brain, which I will go into in more detail in a moment. So yeah, I can't think now. My brain is so foggy today. I'm really sorry, guys, but I did make notes to help me out with this. Yeah. Oh, actually, that's a really good tip. I wrote that down because it was so helpful for me. Sometimes if you just type in yoga onto Pinterest, for example, it's going to give you a lot of articles about yoga, right? Or videos about yoga, or whatever it is that you're searching. And that can be really frustrating because it's not really useful for a vision board. What I did find worked very well is typing aesthetic after what I'm searching, so I would look up, say, like yoga aesthetic, and that way you find actual photographs of actual like POV kind of photos. So it's a lot more helpful. Like I was able to search like, French cafe aesthetic. So shout out to all the girls out there tagging things as aesthetic, because it just kind of helped me compile these images a lot easier. Once you have got all of the photos that you want to use, I do recommend that if you're doing this on Pinterest, you make a little board, like a Pinterest board. You can keep it private if you want, like that's up to yourself, but make a little Pinterest board and pin each photograph as you save them, so that you almost have like a little digital version of your vision board. This is going to be really helpful so that if you are traveling and you obviously can't lug around this big vision board, you can easily just go onto Pinterest and you can start looking at these images again, and it's going to like stir up all those feelings. So while you've got the other copies saved, you can either print them at home if you've got a printer, but what I recommend doing is have them printed. So you can go somewhere that will, print photographs, pharmacies, whatever, and get a nice glossy copy of that image. It's going to be lovely HD glossy photograph. And this is great because it's a physical thing and it looks beautiful. The colors are vibrant, it's glossy. It's all of these things that's going to solidify, it's all confirming in your mind that this is, this is a reality here for you. This is all part of the vision. So there's all this kind of like psychological stuff that's working in the background, and that's why this works so well. Same goes for when you're framing it. Now, if you want, you can blue tack them onto like a big board, like a big poster board if you prefer. If you want, like that's grand. But I really recommend making the effort to get a frame for it. Doesn't have to be an expensive frame. I literally went to the range and I got like a Perspex clip frame, I think they're called. It was a couple of pound. I think I got in the end like an A2 frame. I think I bought an A3 and it was not big enough. So I had to go with an A2. My sister was laughing at me for that one. But I just went in. I think it was about £4 for this frame. Works perfect. And it just means that you are making that effort to frame this vision, right? You're making that effort to like show it off, to like display it, like, yes, I'm feeling proud about this, I feel excited about this, it looks beautiful. It's just ticking all of those boxes. It's just helping keep all of those good feelings about this vision within you when you look at this board. So I really recommend just pick up a Perspex frame. You can literally buy them on Amazon, if you want, but I live next to a range, so it's dangerously easy for me to get stuff out of there. Whenever you are ready to frame it, I recommend sticking them down onto, stick your photographs down. Good old Pritt stick, nothing too complicated here. You can cut them up or whatever way you want to kind of display it. Whenever I was putting mine together, I sort of did mine in a bit of a chronological way. So it sort of looked at how my day unfolded within this vision, I kind of had images starting from like that beginning, how I woke up in my morning, to all the little things that might happen throughout my day. And that included different things like going to a cafe or, traveling or whatever, obviously my days are going to look different, but I incorporated it in that sort of way so that when I'm looking at it, it's making sense in my mind, and that's what's kind of important, is that you lay this out in a way that makes sense in your mind. So it's going to be different for you from me, but spread them out, look through them, find a way that you can display them so that your eye is going to naturally flow across them. That's kind of the main thing here. And then you just want to stick them down, frame them up, and find a place that you can look at it every day. So for me, I've put it on the wall at the foot of my bed, and it is the first thing I look at in the morning. It's the last thing I look at before I go to sleep. And that feels like a really nice way to kind of start and end my day. So I can kind of like keep working on those subconscious rewiring techniques. So yeah, I've got it framed, I've got it set up, and it looks really beautiful. Now, why this works. This is the good bit. This is the juicy bit. When you are looking at this vision board, when you're taking all of these steps and you're focusing on the feeling that it is stirring up within you, and you're sort of, bringing it into your reality by having a physical photograph and a physical frame, like you're sort of bringing all of this into your reality. You're focusing on the sensations it causes within your body. All of this, you're also making them into the past tense, like you've already accomplished it. All of these little things all feed into rewiring your subconscious, right? So your brain, it's a beautifully simple thing at times. And what it's going to essentially do is look for things throughout your day, throughout your life, that it's going to reaffirm that this vision is the reality for you, or it's going to look for things that's going to bring you closer to this reality, right? So it's both technical, but it's not. To be honest with you, it's working on that like subconscious rewiring, and it's about looking, you start to have an awareness. You become more aware of things within your life that's going to make that goal that reality. So for example, if something on your vision board was to, I don't know, have a host a talk somewhere, like, be a guest speaker somewhere, then you're going to start noticing more opportunities to be a guest speaker, and you can start putting yourself forward for these things, and you start becoming more comfortable with it, and then before you know it, you're on the stage giving a TED talk, whatever, right? So it's about doing that subconscious rewiring, and about your brain believing that this is your reality, this is life for you right now, and everything will start to just fall into place, right? Trust the process. Don't worry about the how. Just trust the process. It's going to happen. It's happening for you. It's already happened, right? Let's get into it really, really into it. If you are struggling with getting clear on your goals, I would really recommend you have a little look at downloading my ebook from the show notes. There's going to be a link in the show notes for you. It's called the 90-day goal, and it focuses on achieving a goal within a 90-day window, right? 3-month period, right? It is so packed with information. I could not thin this down any more than I could. Like, it is so packed with information and actionable, easy steps that you can take to making your goal your reality, right? Now, usually this ebook is on sale for £27, but for a limited time only, this ebook is free to download. So get your hands on it. I think there's like 30 pages in it. It is a hefty book. And have a read through and get started, because it will do wonders for you to help you get clear on what it is you want, and actually help you take steps to achieving that. So I really recommend that. But yeah, I hope after listening to this, I hope you're ready to get out there and make a vision board. And I hope that if you are following these steps, that it's going to work for you and everything comes true that's on that vision board. I would absolutely love to see your vision board. If you've followed along and you've made a vision board, I would absolutely love to see it. So you can tag me on Instagram at guiltfree_coaching. There's also going to be a link for that in my show notes as well. But that is it for today's episode. If there is something that you would like to see me discuss in an upcoming episode, then you can actually leave a suggestion in the little Q&A box in the Spotify show notes as well. I'd really appreciate that. As always, my DMs are open on Instagram, so feel free to send me a message, or if you just want to have a chat, always up for a conversation. But for now, that is it for today's episode, and I will see you next week. Bye.